I believe there's so many ways to have a sketchbook practice. There's people who have or make this beautiful artworks on their sketchbook, and every page is like a gorgeous piece of art that to me should be framed. You can use your sketchbook just to jot down ideas and develop concepts. I know myself right now as I speak, I think it's 5 sketchbooks going at once because I use them all for different purposes. So today we are doing sketchbook ideas with things that can fit in this little pencil pouch or maybe just with a pen. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Paula. If you're not new, welcome back and let's get started. Let me show you what I have in this pencil case first. When I want to do art on the go, I keep it really simple and really light. This is one of the pencil pouches I would take to keep it minimal. But I want to quickly spoil for you that as I worked on the first page of this video, I decided that it would be fun to share ideas using only this fine liner that I have here. So today, I want to show you how creative you can be and how many things you can draw with one pen and one pen alone. You may want to be creative and have an art practice that's simple and easy and fun, and that doesn't mean you have to invest in all of the supplies. Today we are starting with drawing from nature. To minimize excuses for this first one, I just Googled branch and got a reference image. As I work on it, you're going to see I use my reference really loosely as I add and place leaves wherever I like to support my composition. I just got an image to inspire me and to get me going. Another thing I'm doing is I'm not worrying about what's behind and what's in front. I'm just putting everything down with my non-erasable pen, almost like it's transparent, letting things overlap and cross. I also decided to represent the veining of the leaves by just doing many diagonal lines, and I just continue filling each leaf, even the ones that overlap, as if everything was transparent. When I was done filling everything and changing the thickness of some of my lines, this is the final product. I think it's lovely and it could definitely be a very modern print, so I'm gonna sign it and show it to you blown up and in a mock-up. Next idea, and again I'm going to use leaves, but this time to show you that we all have something around us to inspire us, I'm going to bring in my little plant that I have in my studio. Again, just using her for reference and to get ideas flowing. So what I'm going to do is draw 3 of her leaves in a composition that feels nice to me. With the drawing done, once again, I'm going to play with how I fill in the leaf or how I represent its texture. You could fill your leaves with circles, stars, little hearts, but again, I'm going to use lines this time. I'm going to use spaced out lines and like little dots to fill it in. And just like in the last page, when the leaf is fully filled, I go in with my pen and change the outline a little bit, making it more interesting and helping it match the lines within the leaf. I know it might seem boring to do such similar ideas, but I wanted to do this to illustrate a point, which is when you want to start something new in your life, any practice, any new habit, you'll find that repetition is key to build up a practice. Start by taking the smallest step you can. If you can't start by taking a whole hour a day to sketch, maybe take 5 minutes before bed and you doodle something, or maybe tonight you doodle a leaf for 1.5 minutes, and you start building this practice of using your creativity by drawing the same leaf over and over, taking 1.5 minutes or 5 minutes every day. Just the same idea by making little adjustments or changes to it. I have been asked about my motivation and how I stay motivated for my art practice, but I don't think any continuous practice is just about motivation, but about creating a habit. So for example, in my case, certainly there are days where I feel less motivated or less creative, but I already have a habit in place to back up my art practice. So if I wake up in a Monday morning, I'm going to follow my routine, and that includes going into my studio and working on something, whatever it is, even if I'm not feeling especially creative. It's about creating the consistent habit day after day. That's what will carry you through. So start small, start with what's attainable, maybe just paper and pen. Although actually, I do recommend you get a notebook or sketchbook of any size to start with. This is so you can keep everything together and at one point flip through it and see your progress or your past ideas. Any sketchbook is a beautiful souvenir of your journey. But start simple. One pen is what we're using today, and one pen is what's going to get us there, to create a habit and then to start having a creative practice even without being a full-time artist. Okay, so now these new leaves are done, and when I finished, I felt the page needed something else. So I decided to create a background by drawing a rectangle around them, and then I chose to fill it all up with a darker texture, which I achieved, of course, just by making closer and closer doodles. You can see I'm just doodling around and having fun while I listen to a podcast, being pretty mindless about it, just enjoying the process. Of course, you could also do this with a thicker marker, but again, today I'm showing you how much you can make with the same one. Signed it, and here's a mock-up for you to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Next idea. For this one, I am going to use my pencil and various circular things I had around me, but you can freehand the circles. They don't need to be perfect. If you've seen my sketchbook videos, you probably know I love working with circles, just trying different things with them. Once I had a composition of circles in my page that I liked, I started to work on the first one. And you can see I only drew random lines within it, and then I went ahead and filled the space in between those with more lines. I wasn't thinking about the distance between the lines or how thick they were or if they were really parallel to one another. I was just filling up the space. With the first circle done, I started working on the second one, and the first lines I drew go in a different direction from the ones I made for the first circle. So I've tilted my sketchbook to draw diagonal lines, and I will change the direction of the lines for each of the circles. All circles ready, so I'm just gonna erase the guidelines and again sign it. And why not have a little bit of fun by showing this one in a mock-up next to the other ones we just made. Next idea, and I'm starting similar to a neurological line. I'm just gonna feel what I feel at the moment and draw a line through the whole page. I then add more curved lines coming out of that first line, following its rhythm but taking different paths and different distances from it. I just do these first ones out of whim, and then I start to fill in the spaces of the new lines I've created. I draw more and more curved lines, and for this exercise, I am thinking about the thickness of the lines I use. I am still using only my one pen to do the thicker lines. I just fill in the spaces between two closed lines, or I go over the same line a lot of times. Here's how it's looking about midway there, because towards the end I chose to add even more lines that greatly diverged from the first one's path. And I'm gonna leave it at that because I could play with this forever. I could make so many versions of this, and it's just such an entertaining and relaxing exercise to do. It's pretty easy, but I think you can get beautiful compositions and results from it. Moving on to the next idea, and for this video I drew inspiration from this artwork by artist Yelena Donko. Now, I have to tell you, I saw the artwork the night before, and then I did not see it at all when I was doing my own sketching. Because, as I mentioned in a previous video, I believe the lack of memory leads to creativity. And sometimes when we remember the concept, but not the whole thing, and we don't use it as a straight up reference, we can come up with something new. So I started by doing some straight lines to fill half of the page, and then I started to curve them. When I had all of those first lines, I started filling in the spaces between the curved lines as I was trying to make it look more interesting. I made a lot of repetitive lines, but I also made mistakes that you'll be able to see. Here's my final result. I think it's not even close to the original, and I think mine, it's kind of ugly. Very ugly, actually. But this time there's no artistic tantrum building up inside me because this time I loved it. I love the experience. These exercises have put me in the right energy, and I love that I gave something new a try. And that after I finished this page, I wanted to do many more and see what I could come up with. But I won't do that today as we're moving on to the next idea. We are taking a little bit of a detour because I think one of the best things we can do to start a drawing practice is to doodle. Doodling is not that intimidating. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be lifelike, and it can be tons of fun and can also help you not only develop your drawing abilities, but also to be more creative. So that's what we're going to do for this page, and I'm going to fill it with teapots. I absolutely love drinking tea, so I thought it would be fun to draw inspiration or to draw something I actually love. To start, I just Googled some reference images by looking up vintage teapot, and just from that first result page, I started doodling. Another thing I did to keep the page organized and make it special was draw a little frame or background around each doodle. At first, I really wasn't taking them one by one for reference. I was just combining pieces of everything I saw as I wanted to. After I felt my ideas for combining the objects that I saw were running out, I did choose to take a specific teapot as reference. I started with this little tea house teapot, which I would never thought about creating, and I used it as a reference, but as I doodled, I made it my own. I simplified some things and I changed a little bit of the line work. Same thing with this mushroom teapot, and of course with this little cat teapot, which honestly, again, I would have never thought about that, so it was great to draw it. After all of the spaces were filled, here's how my little page of doodles looks like. I love it, and it's giving me so many new ideas of things to draw. For my next idea, I'm going to work with repetition. I apologize that my framing is so off for the beginning of this. I truly didn't notice. For this idea, I drew inspiration from this image by the Allison Show. Sadly, I can't share a link because if you follow it, it shows an error, but I'm sharing her Insta on the description. It looks like she's not painting as much anymore, but still. To me, her painting looked like an endless landscape with trees. So I drew some curved lines and a bunch of different shapes to represent them. And what I'm going to do is fill each one with different textures and designs. I really believe the possibilities of working with only one black pen are endless. You can basically take any image, any object, anything you have close to you, whatever really, and draw it. Draw its outline, draw its texture, a contour drawing, blind drawing, a doodle of it. I mean, so many options, and you can easily fill a sketchbook with your pen and get yourself into having a creative practice. Like I said before, even if it's a couple of minutes a day. When I was done filling all of my little trees, I went over the lines for the ground and for the trunks. And then I decided the page needed a little bit more black, so I filled all of the trunks and added a few branches to some of the trees. And here it is, a page about repetition. And I also wanted to show you this Create This Book cover I made because I really loved how it turned out, and it's the same principle. Same object repeated many times with small changes. That brings us to the end of the ideas I wanted to share today. We made a page about repetition, a page full of doodles, an attempt at something by playing with lines, and some curved lines that stemmed from my emotion at the moment. Played with circles and texture, and of course, we also made 2 pages with leaves. If you enjoyed today's video, please let me know. I hope to see you in the next one and that you're having the most wonderful day. Bye!